It turns out there's an exercise for coming up with it. The amount of income, to a degree, I mean, let's factor in the diminishing return factor here, so I don't want to exaggerate it, but to a degree, the amount of income is in direct proportion to the amount of conversion mechanisms and conversion points that you have, which kind of means, aside from the amount of times you say, give me some money, the amount of different ways you're able to say that and maintain your audience's interest. So, for the first time ever, it is time to do the exponential revenue expander exercise, all right? So I know it's distracting to have these things handed out to you, but it's ultimately more important to me for you to understand this than it is for you to buy this thing, because I could just mail the list, all right? So here we go. I want you, again, to just imagine we've only got one product to sell. And this is really when behavioral dynamic response comes into play, because, again, chances are they're opting in, you're sending them a series of sales letters, and then you're done. So what we want to do is just explode two different areas of your funnel. Number one is the one that you talked about, all right? So, again, I'll go over these obvious points. The more qualified leads you get, the more money you'll make. True or false? Qualified leads, okay? The more offers you put in front of those leads, the more money you'll make. True or false? Therefore, the tighter the message to market match, meaning if you get a bunch of leads and you're offering something that they actually want in the language they speak, the more money you'll get, yes or no? Yeah, okay. So what I'm not saying is let's get a whole bunch of people and then sell them random stuff. That doesn't work. So it's all got to, I mean, it's common sense, but I'm also on camera, so I want to make sure I'm very clear. Okay, so there's really two steps to this. We get more people in, that's called basically horizontal expansion, and then we go deeper within the promotions, right, which is basically funnel expansion. So in any campaign, and specifically online, you have two halves of the campaign. According to Chronology 101. All right, so it really is something. This says opt-in here. All right, so all the stuff that happens before opt-in, I call it in front of the line or before the line. Everything that happens after they opt in, I refer to it as behind the line. All right, which is almost similar to the way true advertising agencies talk, but they have different contexts, so I really want to make that clear. So we know that if the point of opt-in, we've got all these cool machines where they're going over here and here and here, and the more branches on the tree that we have, the cooler it is, right? So most after the line, they opt in, send email 1, 2, 3, 4, sales letter. If they don't buy, nothing happens. This, no good. If they opt in, you have all kinds of contingencies and stuff, very, very good. But if you compound that with having multiple ways to get them to opt in to the same system or conceptual system, you haven't doubled the power of this thing, you're compounding it, right? Does that make sense so far? I mean, it really looks like a squid or something there, so sorry. Okay, so let's talk about front of line expansion. And if we could do the switcheroo, thank you. All righty. So step one is getting more in the door. So what I want you to do, you got notebooks handy? Okay, well, first of all, put your credit card number on, don't even read it. Credit card number on order form, sign it before you come to your senses. But then you're going to want to take notes for this because it's very, very important. This is the worst, I mean, we're the worst front of the room salesperson in the world, but it's because I'm very good at this other stuff and it really doesn't matter. It matters if you want your stuff to work that you come to this thing, but it's not worth me sacrificing your knowledge to get that sale. I can email you later if it doesn't sell out if necessary. So pay attention to this. I will make a better attempt to sell you something later, but this is critical. Because like, what if I get hit by a meteorite, right? You must have this knowledge. It really is important. So step number one is to ask yourself, what is the big promise, all right? So here's what I've got. It's kind of hard to see. This is a table. So what you've got here, and I want you to write this on your paper, all right? So if only there were a lot of notebooks that had my last name on them, or my first name and last name on them, we would have something to write on. Oh, yes, you have those. So get out your handy notebook, And I want you to draw a square, and you got 1, 2, 3 lines in the square, so you got 4 columns. At the top, right, market, lead 1, lead 2, lead 3, right? And then under it, we're going to write the big promise of your stuff. So this is the big promise you're making to your market, the big benefit of whatever it is you got, right? Does that make sense so far? Okay. So this is where, well, you'll see. I've never taught this before, so I'm new to it, so hopefully it will translate well. So the biggest, there's so many biggest mistakes, it's almost like everything is the biggest mistake. A very critical error that is extremely easy to make, which I've personally made many times and learned from, is that we don't expand the market enough. We will pick the lowest hanging fruit and then just go after the lowest hanging fruit. So in my case, if I want to sell Ultimate Webinar Blueprint or EverWebinar, for that matter, if I'm working with Andy to help him sell that, the lowest hanging fruit is going to be the general or aware market, which in this case would be like internet marketers. People who are generally aware of the fact that webinars exist and that they are an accepted vehicle by which one can sell their stuff. Make sense? That's pretty simple. In this case, I would be marketing to fans of Brendan, fans of mine, this low-hanging fruit. So my lead, in this case, I mean an angle, a lead in, the thing that I would be saying here on the opt-in page, right? My lead in number 1 might be how to Y without B. I didn't want to make the font real small, so basically, why would I have had how to yay without boo, right? That classic headline formula. How to make sales on webinars without being cheesy is one of the things I'm using, right? How to sell on webinars, well, without sacrificing quality of content. Now, our mission is to do 2 things. Number 1, find other segments of a marketplace to serve. And number 2, come up with 3 lead-ins for each segment. So I don't really expect you to complete this during our time together, but I want to show you how to do the exercise, because if you take like an hour or something, less than an hour, really, you will end up with 36 different ways to approach a market, because we're going to go wide and we're going to go deep right now. So this is heavy-duty stuff. Nobody ever does it, never seen anyone do it, thankfully. Let's not tell them about it. That would be bad. Okay, so this is my pitch, how to create webinars that sell, right? To the general aware market of people who know that webinars exist and might be a generally good idea, okay? They're like middle of river people, to use the Jenkinsology, right? A second lead might be news. In my case, I use it. I say breaking news. I just check the stats, and this unusual way of doing webinars has worked very, very well. Get on this webinar, and well, the irony here is not lost on me. Get on this webinar, and I'll give you a webinar about how to buy a thing that teaches you how to sell on webinars, okay? But that lead is news, the personal news angle. I checked the numbers, did this experiment, a new way to do webinars. It worked very well. That's my lead, that's all. I'm just getting them in the door here. This is my in front of the line angle, right? Y'all can have all this, by the way, so you don't have to take pictures of it if you don't want to. Okay, lead 3 is fear, right? I don't use this as a front of the line thing, although I should. I should have a Facebook ad that says what to do when your show-up rates go in the toilet. For people who are already marketing on webinars, even if they're not marketing on webinars yet and want to, they're like, my show-up rates are going to go in the toilet. I better figure out what to do. Human nature. That's just a way to get them to opt in, to get on the webinar. So let's say that everything I'm saying is simply to get someone to register for this webinar, for Ultimate Webinar Blueprint, all right, for the sake of clarity. So, and all of these little squares here are just angles I'm using in Facebook ads alone, right? Let's just make it super simple. So my first Facebook ad is to the general market, how to have webinars that sell, right? Without being high pressure or uncool. Second one is breaking news. Just did this, watch this case study on this new and unusual way to do webinars. It worked really well. Third one here is what to do if your show-up rates fall in the toilet. Register for this webinar. We're just driving them to a registration page. Now, if we want to be hog wild crazy, I could have the copy on the registration page match the copy here. I mean, that would involve typing and pressing save and then potentially uploading a file to a server or just pressing publish in WordPress, depending on the, so I know it's exhausting. It's not as easy as swinging the sledgehammer. but it's worth doing because of the general rule that the proportion to, the money. So, super low-hanging fruit, all of this stuff. Your competitors are doing these two. 1, 2, that's it. They go to a general market, the lowest hanging fruit, and they state like an obvious. They rarely go multiple ways to get them into the same funnel. This approach, just this, made me millions selling dog training materials. Because instead of saying how to train your dog, I just said how to train your Labrador. I sent them to a page about Labradors. It's the same product every single time. It's a method called serialization. It's great, all right? But let's say we want to start going deeper. I'm assuming that the only people in the world who could ever benefit from a webinar is an internet marketing person who knows what a webinar is. Is that a true statement? Is the only people? Of course not. Kern, get off your butt, sir. What about business coaches, right? Now, this is still a less aware but potentially aware market. So in this case, how am I going to attract them? I'm going to put, we're not messing with the funnel yet. We're just trying to get people to opt in to the funnel. Well, angle number one could be third-party data. Attention business coaches, according to IBISWorld, your industry is a $12.1 billion per year industry. Do you know if you even got a tiny fraction of that, you would probably have so many clients you wouldn't know how to serve them all. But if you're like most coaches, you're great at coaching, but you find that getting clients has been a little bit of a problem. New Webinar shows a simple way to automate the client acquisition process. Guess what we're going to sell them? How to run automated webinars that get them to apply to talk to the consultant, or the coach in this case. Second one is how to. Business coaches. Free training reveals, let's see, how to have a coaching prospect pre-sold before you ever do the strategy session with them. I would never do a strategy session with someone unless they were pre-sold, knew what the price was, knew what all the arrangements were, and the only thing they were trying to figure out is this right for me or not? Most coaches, they don't do that. Right? They're like, oh yeah, let me give you a free strategy session, then tell you the price, and then hope. And then try to use some sort of canned sales techniques to box you into agreeing to join my thing. It works, but it's very unpleasant. A lot of manual labor. It's probably what you might be experiencing now, Dana, actually. If you don't like having to do the same pitch every time, we want to build something that pre-sells them before you're there. Other one would be news. Now, I don't have the data to support this, but I bet it's easy to find if we did something extremely exhausting, like Google failure rate of business coaches. It could be breaking news. Average American business coach is only in business for 8 months before his business shuts down due to lack of customers. Breakthrough approach reveals how to have prospects pre-sold and waiting in line for an opportunity to work with you. Okay? Financial planners, all right? Can a financial planner replace the dinner seminar with an automated webinar? Of course. I only say this because I've helped one build one, right? I've also attracted annuity representatives and recruited them from one company to another using automated webinars with a print ad, a freaking ad in a magazine to the internet in finance. We don't realize the power of what we have. It works very, very well. So in this case, I could take the fear angle. Dinners are dying, right? Study shows that seniors are less responsive to direct mail pieces inviting them to dinner seminars than ever before. And the average dinner seminar attendee is secretly only there for the free steak and often attend out of loneliness and boredom. New report, or free training rather, because we're trying to get them on a webinar, reveals breakthrough approach to end the tedious and awful dinner seminars forever and produce a steady stream of prospects ready, willing, and able to become your clients with the full understanding of exactly what it is you do and how much you charge. Okay? Very matter of fact and true copy, although dinner seminars can be done properly. We could have the angle of declaring war, right? So you know what the term plate liquor is, right? That's a term within the financial services industry for someone who only comes to the dinner seminar for the free food. Okay? The bane of their existence. They don't like to do the damn dinner seminars anyway, and then they go and they're like, oh no, I just came for the food. Well, that's what you get for sending postcards to unqualified people offering them free food, man. But Florida Advisors declares war on plate liquors and defeats them all with unusual marketing method. Free class reveals the same thing I just said. Right? It's just a different angle. So now we got two angles. How to. simple. How to attract high net worth paying clients without ever doing another dinner seminar again. The whole case behind this could be, if you're frustrated because high net worth clients never go to dinner seminars, that's because you've never put yourself in the shoes of a high net worth client. Would you respond to an offer for a mediocre meal served in a restaurant, surrounded by strangers, to hear a sales pitch from someone just for the price of free food? Of course not. You got more money than you know what to do with. So do your clients, and they need guidance with this money. That's why blah, 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 blah. All right? What about lawyers? Okay? Lawyers are great to help in business because their average ticket is so high. Dana, what's your average ticket? What's a client worth to you? $6,500. I was going to say 48. I have randomly guessed that the average divorce attorney's client is worth $4,800. Randomly guessing, usually wrong. $6,500. That's great, right? So it makes a lot of sense if I were to be able to say something to a lawyer like, here's how to attract, very simple. Here's how to win, not win because that's the wrong word. Here's how to get, who do you want? Let's script the copy for this. If I'm selling you on a webinar, what's the perfect client that you want? From a how-to angle, what would you respond to? Physicians? Yeah. Awesome. How? So if you saw an ad for a free class on how to get physicians as clients, you would be responsive? Cool. So, all right, there's called market research. Attention divorce lawyers. Good Lord, with geo-targeting and the way you can do groups on Facebook, I could actually say, attention, are you Dallas? Where are you? Attention Dallas divorce attorneys. How to attract or how to get local doctors, local is redundant. See, I like to be redundant when I repeat myself, I told you. How to get doctors in Dallas coming to you to handle their divorce, ... without advertising on TV, without sending direct mail, and without having to do countless free consultations, right? That's the stuff you don't want to do, right? There you go. That's how to yay without boo. The great lawyer hoax, right? Now I made this slide after having done a lot of these, so sometimes you can give out of ideas. The great lawyer hoax. They told you it would be, I bet when you enrolled in law school, you thought this was your ticket to financial security, only to find out you're great at practicing law, but getting the clients you want has been an entire matter altogether. Well, new breakthrough technology reveals how to have clients calling you pre-qualified and ready to do business at the fees you command without having to answer 9 million dumb questions and weed out time wasters or whatever, right? Exposed. So if I'm selling to Dallas, I don't want to say Dallas, I'd say something like Houston. If I'm targeting Dallas, I'd say something like prominent Houston divorce attorneys' advertising methods exposed. How is it even fair that one attorney could get so much business without ever advertising on TV, sending direct mail, or having to do the other thing Dana said he didn't want to do? Free training reveals how your practice can get qualified clients on demand without ever having to do all the stuff that sucks, right? For consultants, an open letter to consultants who hate to sell, okay? That could be the ad. It could be a landing page that said, "Dear fellow consultant, we've all been there. You spend hours with a prospect. He asks you for a proposal only to find out that the sole purpose of your visit was to intimidate his staff into finally complying with your wishes. Never again, blah, blah, blah." Free class reveals how to never do another proposal and get more clients than ever before. Third party, consultants. According to Forbes, the consulting industry, just in the field of management, is over a $100 billion per year industry. If you got even a tiny fraction of that business, you would have more clients than you can handle, but chances are, if you're like most consultants, you're great at your job, but closing the deal has always been a challenge. Free class reveals how to yada, 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 all right? War on proposals. San Diego business consultant declares war on proposals, in parentheses, and the people who ask for them. Right? If you're a consultant and you never want to write another proposal again, free class reveals how to have clients coming to you knowing what you charge and ready to pay. If that sounds interesting to you, you can register here. Seating is limited. All going into the same thing, pointing back to webinars, right? So what we've done is we've just expanded the market horizontally, not only into multiple markets, but each market now has 3 angles of approach to attract someone. Does that make sense? I'm selling the same thing. You know why I haven't done this? Lazy. No excuse for it. I just didn't want the extra money, I suppose, right? I'll lie to myself and say I was busy doing something else. It'll make me, I was busy being important. That's why, okay? All right, so now we got all this coming in, but we want to make this, okay? So I diagrammed mechanically, can I do it at the end? I diagrammed mechanically how the making of this works. Remember, I walked you through all those campaigns. So let's talk about now from a creative standpoint, like a copy standpoint, okay? So to deepen the funnel, what we want to do is we want to take another rectangle, and we'll just do it with 3, right? Because each market has 3 leads, and we want to put follow-up 1, 2, and 3 in there. So write the market name down here. So I would maybe write like general aware market or lawyers or doctors or whatever. This is just for your reference. And then we're just going to write the lead that we used, and then we're going to come up with follow-up approaches, all right? So if I'm using the open letter thing, I might follow up, if they haven't bought, with a campaign where its angle is the emotional story. An open letter to consultants who hate proposals. Get on this class. They don't buy from the class. Do I do by class I mean webinar. Do I do 10 million replays of the webinar? Better than nothing, but what is even better is a campaign from a different angle, now a totally different campaign structure, from a different angle with the emotional story. Jim, I'll never forget how the crushing embarrassment and disappointment I had when sitting in a boardroom of corporate executives, I felt like the odd man out, watching them chuckle over my proposal, giving each other knowing glances, knowing full well they never intended to do business with me in the first place. Not only had I spent 2 days on site, but I'd also told my wife that we would go on vacation after I got the deal. You can only imagine how loud I screamed in the car on the drive home. Better to get the frustration out then than when I hit the house. But none of it was comparable to the pain I felt when I saw the disappointment in her eyes when I said, honey, we're going to have to cancel the reservations. If you never want to be played by a client again, then you desperately need to learn this information. It's a little bit dramatic, but I'm deliberately being dramatic, so you can see. So in this case, they got on the webinar. Dude, I could just keep doing automated webinars from a different angle of approach, right? You really can use the same mechanism if you want to with a different angle, if you just love webinars or something. Follow-up number 2, man on a mission, right? This could be a video. Man on a mission. I'm on a mission to save my fellow consultant brothers and sisters from never having to waste time writing proposals, chase clients, and kiss butt again. Listen, you need to understand they need you more than you need them. Otherwise, they wouldn't be calling you. Stop playing to the mercy of these people who are yanking you around like a dog on a leash and understand the power that you have. If you want to create a system that has prospects ready to do business with you, calling your office, setting appointments with you, with full knowledge of your rates, prepared to pay, then this is the most important video you'll ever watch. The concept is called the Irresistible Intrigue Offer, and here's how it works. Boom, 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 then I go into the pitch, right? Just a VSL. A different angle, same thing, right? Everything is wrong. Everything you've ever learned about attracting clients is wrong, right? I bet when you graduated from consulting university or whatever, they told you were supposed to make glossy-looking business cards, wear a blue blazer, hand out a lot of proposals, and get your name out there. Well, if that was correct, you wouldn't be reading this right now because chances are you don't have the clients you want, blah, 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 blah. Okay? So that is lead number 1. Lead number 2 is third party. Let's say we're using the third party angle. Each angle can have another follow-up to it. So they've opted in from the third party data. Let's just say that's this page. They don't buy. Now we're going to hit them with the how to get the deal before you show up angle. That's a how-to angle, right? So they don't approach or they don't buy when they get on the webinar after seeing the ad that says, attention consultants, according to Forbes, consulting is a $100 billion per year industry. Here's how to get your share of the marketplace. They didn't buy or whatever. We then, next campaign is, New video reveals how to get the deal before you show up. It could be an offer at the end of the video. Or it could be another webinar where that's what you're teaching in the webinar, right? Doesn't matter. Next one is breakthrough. That's one of our angles, one of our switches. I'm using angles and switches now interconnectedly because it doesn't matter. I mean, you just choose one, you know. I'm trying to get you to expand your thinking here. Breakthrough new discovery caused a San Diego consultant to earn $175,000 a month within his first 90 days of hanging out his shingle. It's me, by the way. I really did. The first 3 months, I was making $175,000 a month in recurring revenue with a different approach to the consulting model, which worked. What never to do. What never to do in a client's office. What never to do to grow your consulting business, in parentheses, even if your client begs you to do it. Send a proposal. Never send a proposal. Can I have a proposal? Yes. I propose you go kiss yourself where the sun does not shine. But if you would like to learn how to solve the problems in advance, I'd be happy to provide you with this free webinar. At the end of the webinar, I will tell you the rates and tell you the conditions upon which I will help you. And you can apply to talk to me at the end if you feel that we're a good match. Totally different positioning, right? So, war on proposals is the lead. So they're coming in, they're opting in here. For whatever reason, they don't buy on the webinar, no problem. We hit them with another campaign. It could be an automated launch. It could be a goodwill campaign. It could be a VS. It doesn't matter, right? Use something. The truth about clients, okay? The truth about clients, especially if you're a consultant, especially you're going after guys in a certain industry, the truth about purchase agents, in parentheses, what they hope you never discover, right? The truth about them is they could care less about the price as long as they look good to the boss and personally get a raise. That's why you need to appeal to blah, 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 blah. Or the truth about them is they're incapable of making a decision personally. Therefore, you need to have their manager on the call. Welcome to my free webinar on how to get the manager on the call, right? Whatever it may be. How to kill price resistance. Have you found yourself getting in front of all the clients that you want but never being able to close the deal because they always tell you you're too expensive? I have news for you. You're not. If you're hearing this objection, today's tutorial video is going to show you 3 ways to overcome it. At the end of the video, if you like this and you're really dedicated to growing your consulting business, you should buy the thing I pitched on the webinar that you didn't buy, right? We're just expanding here. So a big question I get when I teach behavioral dynamic response is, and a big statement I get is, how do I come up with all of the copy and stuff to do this? This is how. You run this exercise. You just come up with all of these different angles, right? So the third follow-up angle would be the emotional story, right? Yep, yep, yep. These guys are not these guys. They're coming in from different places, okay? So what we did is we took one product and we found 4 different areas of horizontal market expansion for each. We took the webinar course and we said, well, we'll sell to the general market, we'll sell to business coaches, we'll sell to consultants, no, we'll sell to lawyers, and we'll sell to, who else were we selling to? Finance guys. Yeah, 4 different ones, right? Oh, and we'll sell to consultants. So I think it was 5. Math is not an exact science. I'm not quite sure of that number. I do have 5 fingers. Was it the same amount of fingers I have? It was 5. That's how I do my math there. IRS agent, sir, your tax return check contained $5. Well, I didn't have no more fingers. I mean, I was writing with the pen with the other hand, and that's as far as I could count. Oh, okay, you can just go. Now, each of those different areas of expansion have 3 different lead-in angles, right? Each of those lead-in angles have 3 follow-up angles. So what we just did was we exponentially increased the reach and depth of a single product by 36 different ways. So you can do it, right? Does that make sense? All right, cool. Now, I've never taught that before, so conceptually, do you get it? Yeah. Yay!